Good evening, you're watching the news, the headlines at this hour. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov blames the West's double standards for holding up the functioning of the G20 group. Meanwhile, leaders of the Quad, India, the US, Australia and Japan, these leaders also in New Delhi, indirectly hit out at China for attempts to block individuals from being named as globally designated terrorists at key UN forums. That's a key foreign policy concern of India. Trouble for the BJP ahead of elections in Karnataka. A raid ordered by the state's anti-corruption Lokayukt fined 6 crores at the home of a BJP MLA. The MLA is not traceable, but he's applied for bail and has called this, you guessed it, a conspiracy. At Cambridge University in the United Kingdom, Rahul Gandhi says India's democracy is under threat and that he's being spied upon with Pegasus spyware. BJP MPs hit back. The IT minister says Rahul Gandhi's needle is stuck. He needs to move on. Conrad Sangma, whose NPP has emerged tops in the hung assembly in Meghalaya, is keeping his cards close to his chest as far as government formation is concerned. Though he can easily ally with the BJP, other smaller parties can also ensure that he can form a government with their support. The markets have posted their biggest single-day gain of 2023. In fact, the biggest single day since November 2022. One of the top gainers, the Adani Group shares, Adani Enterprises shares gained over 16%. In fact, all Adani shares gained today. Representatives of a fictional country, the United States of Kailasa, show up at the UN and demand protection for the godman Nityananda, who's wanted for sexual abuse in India, in one of the more bizarre stories that you will see. And Deepika Padukone has announced that she's among the celebrities presenting at the 95th Oscars. Well, let's quickly move on now to our top story. It's been a very, very important day as far as the G20 summit is concerned. The summit, of course, was of foreign ministers who met in Delhi, and there were differences which arose as far as Ukraine was concerned. But what Russia has done today, Russia's Foreign Minister Lavrov, is that he has accused the West of double standards in holding up the G20 process.
A day after blocking a consensus on a joint communique at the G20 meeting, Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov blamed the West's double standards for holding up the G20's functioning instead. A combative Lavrov clearly underlined that Russia will not allow the G20 to discuss Ukraine.
For all these long years, whether G20 ever reflected in those declarations situation in Iraq, in Libya, in Afghanistan, or in Yugoslavia. Nobody was giving a damn about anything except finances and macroeconomic policies, which G20 was formed for. These days, when it is not something which the West is doing, believing this, that it's right, when Russia has, after many years of warnings, started to defend itself, there is nothing except Ukraine which is of interest for G20. It's a shame. It's a shame, and this policy would fail.
Meanwhile, as Russia continues to get support from Beijing, China itself has come under the scanner of the Quad. A quartet composed of India, the United States, Australia and Japan, which focuses on Indo-Pacific security concerns. The Quad ministers who met this morning indirectly hit out at China for blocking attempts to name individuals as internationally designated terrorists. In the last 1 year, China has blocked such attempts on 4 occasions, a setback for New Delhi's attempts at blacklisting terrorist organizations in Pakistan.
One of the outcomes we agreed on was that the listings of terrorists, the counter-terrorism side listings should not be politicized. So These were some of the outcomes. So, I mean, there were a lot of things which I can't tell you. But this is the public side of what we can tell you. So I thought collectively I should be putting it out.
The Japanese foreign minister, who couldn't attend the G20 meeting, travelled to India for the Quad gathering and drew a musical analogy to convey the Quad group's frankness and flexibility.
This is a kind of, not a band like the Beatles. You know, the member is fixed and they always play together in 10 years. But this is more like a more kind of soft group, so that even within the Beatles, Paul McCartney can release the album by solo.
India hosted the Quad ministerial meeting, which will be followed by a Quad summit later this year in Australia.
The unstated but understood focus of the Quad is to counter Chinese aggression in the Indo-Pacific, an issue that is even more critical for a country like India that has China as a neighbor and an unresolved boundary issue with China. After his meeting with his Chinese counterpart, Qin Gang, for the first time on Thursday, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar very categorically pointed out that the relationship between the two countries overall will continue to remain abnormal so long as the friction in eastern Ladakh at the LAC is not resolved. However, China has once again tried to downplay this issue by saying that the border issue needs to be seen appropriately in the entire gamut of the bilateral relationship. With camera person Kanan Patra, this is Maha Siddiqui in Delhi for NDTV.
An eye-popping mountain of cash worth about 6 crores was found after searches at the home of a Karnataka BJP MLA and his bureaucrat son, in a huge embarrassment for the party trying to woo voters for elections later this year. The anti-corruption wing of the Lok Ayukt, that's the state's ombudsman, raided the home of the BJP MLA Madal Virupakshappa's son Prashant Madal and found the huge pile of cash. The search went on till late in the night.
The Karnataka BJP hit by yet another corruption scandal just months before the crucial state election, after raids by a team of the state Lokayukta at the residence and office of BJP MLA from Davangere, Madal Virupakshappa, and his bureaucrat son Prashant Madal, unearthed this massive pile of cash, 8 crore rupees and counting. The MLA's son was also caught accepting a bribe a day ago. This is a huge embarrassment for the BJP that is trying to woo voters for elections later this year. MLA Virupakshappa, who has now been made an accused number 1 in the bribery case, resigned this morning as the scandal broke. According to sources, he is untraceable and has applied for a pre-arrest bail. In a letter to Karnataka Chief Minister Basuraj Bommai, Mr. Virupakshappa said, "There is some conspiracy against my family. I am submitting resignation under moral responsibility as there is an allegation against me."
Complainant came and filed the complaint saying that such and such a demand is being made, illegal demand is being made, and therefore please take action. Then our police wing arranged for a trap, and trap has been successfully conducted, and a huge amount of money has been recovered. 5 persons have been taken into custody. They are produced before the court. No question of any pressure, and you need not have to. That question itself is totally irrelevant.
The Karnataka BJP's efforts to win another term, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Union Home Minister Amit Shah, through their frequent visits to the state and lavish announcements, have been countered by accusations of corruption in the state government. The opposition has accused Mr. Bommai's administration of instituting a common rate of kickbacks and dubbed it as the 40% government.
आप में कुछ भी शर्म है तो आप राजीनामा इस्तीफा देंगे और इलेक्शन आज ही के आज कराएंगे.
ಲೋಕಾಯುಕ್ತ ಸರ್ವ ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರವಾಗಿರುವಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ, ನಿಷ್ಪಕ್ಷಪಾತವಾದಂತಹ ತನಿಖೆ ಆಗಲಿ.
Government has been giving a lot of enablement or facilitation to the Lokayukta to go forward, to control corruption and to tackle corruption. That is our main motto.
While BJP leaders in Karnataka are busy stashing the money received as kickbacks, central leaders including Prime Minister Narendra Modi making frequent visits to woo the voters and ensure the parties come back. In fact, drowning in a raft of allegations, the Congress, the opposition questions if Chief Minister Basuraj Bommai will resign. In Bengaluru with Kumar Shrija for NDTV.
A political war of words has broken out over Congress leader Rahul Gandhi's lecture at the prestigious Cambridge University, where he said that the basic structure of India's democracy was under attack. The BJP is hit back, saying Mr. Gandhi was trying to defame India and was unsettled by the Prime Minister's popularity.
In the Constitution, India is described as a union of states. And that union requires a negotiation, requires a conversation. And it's that negotiation that is actually coming under attack and under threat. Right? Here you can see that picture. That picture is taken in front of Parliament House to
a political slugfest over this lecture by Congress leader Rahul Gandhi at the Cambridge University on Tuesday, where he shared this picture of himself being held by a policeman during a protest outside Parliament and said the basic structure of Indian democracy is under attack. In his lecture, Mr. Gandhi also claimed Israeli spyware Pegasus was being used to snoop into his phone.
The institutional framework which is required for a democracy, Parliament, a free press, the judiciary, just the idea of mobilization, just the idea of moving around, these are all getting constrained. So we are facing an attack on the basic structure of Indian democracy. I myself had Pegasus on my phone. Large number of politicians have Pegasus on my phone, on their phone. I've been called by intelligence officers who tell me, listen, please be careful what you're saying on the phone, because we are sort of recording this stuff.
Top Modi government ministers have now hit back, saying Mr. Gandhi was trying to defame the country and was jealous of Prime Minister Modi's popularity.
और ये रोने धोने का काम राहुल गांधी जब विदेशी धरती पे फिर एक बार कर रहे हैं, नतीजे क्या आएंगे उनको पता था, और ये पैगासस कहीं और नहीं उनके दिलो दिमाग पर बैठा हुआ है. दुनिया भर में मोदी जी के प्रति जो सम्मान बढ़ा है, जो भारत का मान सम्मान बढ़ा है मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में, वो आज कोई और नहीं, दुनिया भर के बड़े बड़े नेता कह रहे हैं. राहुल जी किसी और की नहीं, कम से कम इटली के प्राइम मिनिस्टर और उनके नेताओं की तो सुन लेते हैं.
उनकी बातों का क्या कहना, उनकी सुई कहीं एक जगह अटक गई है, उनको थोड़ा सा आगे बढ़ने की जरूरत है.
The latest confrontation between Rahul Gandhi and the BJP follows the Congress leaders' Bharat Jodo Yatra, where both the Congress and the BJP took pot shots at each other, all through Mr. Gandhi's 136 days, 3,500 plus kilometer foot march across the country. Bureau Report, NDTV.
Meghalaya now has a swearing-in date, but Chief Minister Conrad Sangma is keeping his cards close to his chest when it comes to who's going to ensure that he has a majority.
We are 29. 29 means as a party. We are going to proceed as a party, and of course BJP has given its formal support to us.
National People's Party Chief and Meghalaya Chief Minister Conrad Sangma staking claim to form a new government in the state, hours after a phone conversation with Union Home Minister Amit Shah. The BJP and the NPP were allies in the last government but fought the elections separately. Together now they have 28 seats and need 3 more for a majority. By evening it was clear Mr. Sangma did have the numbers, with independents and a smaller party, HSPDP, offering support to him.
We are already had a discussion with the PMO office. Even the Prime Minister will be present in the swearing ceremony.
The main opposition parties, the UDP and the TMC, went into a huddle at a top UDP leader's house. In the last government, the UDP was a part of the ruling coalition, but this time with 11 seats, they are in the opposition camp. Ex-Congress Chief Minister, now with the TMC Meghalaya, Mukul Sangma, said he expected the party to do better than the 5 seats they won, but was hopeful the party will grow in the state.
See, there is no shortcut. Building a political party There is no shortcut. It takes years and years of hard work from all concerned, starting from the foot soldiers at the grassroots.
Meghalaya may have delivered a fractured verdict after the elections, but Conrad Sangma, the Chief Minister, says his party and his government will provide a stable government to the state for the next 5 years. And political observers say with support from the BJP, that won't be a difficult task. With camera person G.D. Shankar, in Shillong, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
The Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, today spoke about being trolled in the age of social media at a lecture on law in the age of globalization in Delhi. He also spoke about appointing more women judges to the Supreme Court and High Courts.
For every little thing that we do, and believe you me, as judges we are no exceptions to this, because for everything that you do, you face the threat of being trolled by someone who doesn't share your point of view. We live today in an age where people are short on their patience and they are short on their tolerance. They are short on their patience, which is a reminder to me to be brief. But people are also short on the tolerance because we are not willing to accept perspectives which are different from our own. I'm often asked about why we can't have more women judges in the Supreme Court than we have. Or why can't we have more High Court judges from amongst the women that we have? And my answer is not simple. The answer is a little complex, but I hope it has a germ of truth. The state of our institutions today in terms of inclusion, of diversity, reflects the state of the profession, say 2 decades ago. Because the judges who come into the High Courts today, in 2023, or the judges who come into the Supreme Court in 2023, reflect the state of the bar at the beginning of the millennium.
All right, important remarks over there, but hopefully there will be greater representation of women. I think that is what the Chief Justice would certainly aspire for. Well, markets have posted their biggest single-day gain of 2023. In fact, the biggest single day since November last year. My colleague Priyanshi explains why this has taken place and the stocks that have really driven up this rise.
Markets have posted their biggest single-day gain of 2023. In fact, the biggest single-day gain since November 2022. Nifty and Sensex gained 1.5% led by banking and metal shares. Sensex gained 899 points and ended at 59,808, while Nifty gained 272 points and closed at 17,594. In fact, all sectors ended firmly in green. Now, one of the top gainers were the Adani Group shares. Adani Enterprises share gained over 16%, and in fact all Adani shares gained today. This happened after Adani Group promoters raised $1.87 billion or about 15,000 crore rupees by selling stakes in 4 companies to US investment firm GQG Partners. Now Adani Group's market cap jumped by 71,000 crore rupees, which was the biggest gain in 8 months. Now why are markets gaining? Global markets are gaining on hopes of lower US Fed rate hikes. This after the Atlanta Fed president said that slow and steady is going to be the appropriate course of action. So there could be moderate rate hikes of 2 more quarter points before the Fed hits pause. Meanwhile, more good news for India. India's service activity growth hit a 12-year high in the month of February according to S&P Global. This as input cost inflation eased to a 29-month low. The service sector, which was badly hit by the pandemic, has now been growing for the last 19 months. So quite some good news for the markets and the service sector there.
All right, so a quick look at the markets over there, fairly landmark day, certainly in the last couple of months. Well, the United Nations Human Rights Office has said that any submissions made by representatives of the so-called United States of Kailasa, founded by the Indian fugitive Nityananda at meetings in Geneva last week, were irrelevant and will not be considered in the final outcome in drafts. But how did a fictional country actually make it to such a big event? Parameshwar Bawa has the story.
In a surprising turn of events, representatives of a fictional country showed up at a United Nations meeting. Believe it or not, a representative of the fictional country of the United States of Kailasa has demanded protection for Nityananda, who she claimed at a UN meeting was being persecuted. The fictional country off the coast of Ecuador was founded by self-titled godman and fugitive Nityananda, who is accused of sexual assault and abuse in India.
I'm here representing the United States of Kailasa.
These videos and images, now viral on social media, show the Kailasa representative speaking on behalf of the fictional state on indigenous rights and sustainable development at one of the events.
Kailasa is the first sovereign state for Hindus, which is established by the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Nityananda Paramashivam, and who is reviving the enlightened Hindu civilization. So now the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism and Kailasa have gone through intense persecution and human rights violation.
The UN Human Rights Office that organized the meeting says registration for the event was open to everyone. Officials, however, said the Nityananda representatives were prevented from distributing promotional material and their speech was not taken into consideration. The UN official, meanwhile, added that they will ignore the statements made by the representatives of this fictional country, adding that their submissions were irrelevant.